I grew up in the village of Portellin, so it's an incredible thing and sort of deeply meaningful for me to be moving into this role. My name is Georgie Crawford. I've been the distillery manager at Lagavulin Distillery for the last 7.5 years, and I'm currently changing role to become the project implementation manager at Portellin Distillery. Leaving Lagavulin has been very difficult for me. I've been there for 7.5 years now, and my heart and soul was very much in that distillery. But handing over the reins now to Colin Gordon has made it much easier that he's actually a friend of mine, and we've worked together on and off now for 6 years, so I believe it is truly in safe hands with him. At the moment, one of the main things we're trying to do is establish the personality of Portellin. Obviously there has been a distillery here since the early 1800s. Of course, a lot of people that drink Portellin today are drinking whisky from the 60s to 80s when it was open for a second period during that time, and we're using a lot of our archive information to try and really suss out what is Portellin as a personality, and really use our liquid archive to really understand it as a spirit as well. The story of Portellin to me is a really interesting one, because there's obviously a huge amount of tradition in what they were doing with the distillery dating back to the 1800s, but actually it's a story of innovation as well that really interests me. The first ever spirit safe was there, the first ever duty-free warehouse, and again in the 60s to 80s they used a huge amount of innovation within that distillery, so it's a bit of a mixture of the traditions of making Scotch whisky and the innovations as well that we use today. We're really lucky that our archive has a huge amount of information, not only from the 60s to 80s, where really we've got a list of every nut and bolt that was in that distillery, but actually dating back to the early 1900s we have drawings, we have architectural drawings, as well as actually the leases from the 1800s as well for the distillery. So there's a huge trove of information there that we're going through just now, very meticulously trying to work out the entire story of Portellin from beginning up until modern time. The timelines at the moment are that just now is a period of really trying to get that information all pulled together. One of the key things that we want to do before we finalise design and move forward with planning is actually include the community. So we're going to have a community open day where we're going to ask everyone from the island who has stories and information, maybe even artefacts from the old distillery, to come and share that with us so we can catalogue it all and include these stories, so that really the community are underpinning a lot of what we want to do going forward with the distillery. Portellin sits in an incredibly tranquil bay. You know, it's absolutely beautiful views out to the lighthouse and out into the bay itself. Portellin as a place, you have to remember that these distilleries were the hearts and souls of the communities that they were in, and very much, you know, the distillery was there and then a community was built around it, and that's what we want to do with the rebuild of Portellin, is really to put the heart back into the community, you know, and create a place that everyone within that community will be very proud of. Where possible, the buildings as they are actually will all be used. We have quite a number of buildings. We've got the old filling store there, the old office blocks, the old kiln building, so they're all going to be a part of the new build, and then we will put in new process buildings from exactly the same sort of positions where they were before, and create a lovely courtyard feeling, which really will take the visitor on a lovely journey around the distillery. We aren't moving yet towards planning permission, but the timelines are that we still hope to have the distillery open by 2020.